The Ennis Big Sky Airport is one of many airports that's getting a big helping hand. I'm Cody Boyer here in Madison County. Just how much they're getting and how it helps them.
The Idaho mother whose 2 children remain missing is now under arrest. I'm Laura Podesta and I'll have details on her charges and how other relatives are responding.
Just ahead of 6:30 on this Friday. That's a crazy story out of
Yeah,
Idaho
it
and
is.
now Hawaii. Well, Laura Podesta will have that whole story for you. Crazy stuff there.
It is.
Looked like it was a little windy yesterday over in Ennis. Cody Boyer there covering the
Yeah,
airport.
it did. You could
gonna
hear
see
it
a little bit
too.
of that today.
You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
there's something about that Madison Valley, that part of that Madison Valley just the
Sweeps
wind
down
just
there.
Wind
That's when
tunnel.
it comes roaring down the plain.
Much like what we're dealing with in Livingston, those other areas too. I wanted to point something out. I just got a email in of a photo. I haven't had time to get it ready. The Wise River temperature 29 below in Wise River, according to one of our viewers. Thanks for sending that in, by the way. Temperatures in West Yellowstone 27 below right now. 1 degree in Belgrade. It is frigid outside. There's no doubt about it. Temperatures will continue to be cool for the morning for the next couple of days, but the afternoons are warming up nicely. A lot of sunshine, light wind out of the south. Again, we're getting that sunshine bright and early in the day, so that's nice. But we do have snow on the way. We'll talk more about that.
There is one bright spot to 21 below in Wise River.
Yeah.
Here in a few minutes, that sun is going to come up. A sunrise over Wise River
Oh,
is absolutely
yes, and another-
magnificent with those clear
okay.
skies.
You're
So
right.
there is a bright spot to 21 below.
You're right.
That's the upside to it.
Way to look on the bright side,
Oh
Chet.
my gosh,
It's Friday.
beautiful.
We have
Sunrise
to.
in Wise River cannot hardly be beaten. 6:30. Top story this morning. Yesterday we told you that 17 airports across Montana will be given more than $26 million in federal grants.
And that includes smaller airports like Madison County's Ennis Big Sky Airport. That's where MTN's Cody Boyer went to find out how this money will help them.
$5 million, 5.57 to be exact. That's just this grant. When you look at the project itself, it goes far above that $5 million, and the staff say that makes it one of the largest projects done to an airport in Montana.
It means a lot to this community.
For Madison County Commissioner Jim Hart, the sky is now the limit for Ennis Big Sky Airport, which can be a little tough to find for those who might not know the area, and it's been years in the making.
This has been planned for probably 6 years with the FAA to improve the runway. It's grown as a result of what it does for our economy.
Down to the dollar, he adds that will go a long way, extending a main taxiway to 7,600 feet, repairing pavement across the runway, and expanding.
We actually had to purchase some portions of property on that side in order to allow room.
Hart says just by increasing this taxiway alone, they could fit more planes on the general runway. That provides a lot more service, not only for the airport, but also for the local economy and for planes of this size.
It's a massive deal. We're looking at a construction project that is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Choice Aviation Operations Manager Troy Hunter says, put it all together, the word massive tells the project story.
We're going to move pretty close to 1 million cubic yards of dirt. There has not been an airport project really in Montana that's moved that much dirt in the last 10 to 12 years.
And while $5.57 million is the grant, Hart says the FAA has more in store.
The total cost of this thing is going to be somewhere between $12 and $15 million. That's a huge deal.
As for the next step, Hunter says we are now in the bidding process for those contractors, which could take about a week, maybe 2. They expect it to be done September this year. In Ennis, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Certainly a story we're going to continue to follow here on Montana this morning. 6:32, this is a story we've been following for a while. Crazy update here.
It is crazy.
Police in Hawaii have now arrested an Idaho mother whose 2 children have been missing since September.
She could appear in court as early as today for an extradition hearing. CBS News' Laura Podesta reports from New York.
Lori Vallow now faces a number of charges, including 2 counts of felony desertion of a child. The Idaho mother was arrested yesterday on the island of Kauai. Her 2 children, 17-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old JJ Vallow, have been missing since September. JJ's grandmother spoke out soon after the arrest.
It is what it is right now, so please just tell us where the kids are. That's what the most important thing is, period.
A complaint filed by prosecutors in Vallo's home state of Idaho alleges she abandoned her 2 children, then hindered attempts to find them. The 46-year-old, who's now living with her new husband, Chad Daybell, in Hawaii, failed to comply with a court order to produce them by the end of January.
You can't be compelled to give information to authorities, but you also can't give false information to authorities. And that seems to be part of what happened here.
The couple reportedly left Idaho back in November. Both of their previous spouses died under suspicious circumstances, according to authorities. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Vallo has also been charged with misdemeanors, including resisting or obstructing officers and contempt of court. She's being held on $5 million bond.
It's like a bad movie.
Yeah, it just keeps getting more twisted and worse.
We'll continue to follow the progress of that story for you. Meantime, some good news. Montana State University held its annual career fair yesterday. More than 100 employers from all over the state met with students to offer them both internships and full employment positions. MTN talked with one freshman who says she's excited for the opportunity to participate despite some stereotypes about the job field in Montana.
Everybody has that idea that Montana is very rural or country. We are technologically growing, and I'm glad that they're giving us the opportunity for us college students to get involved in that.
Yesterday, students just talked and handed out resumes to potential employers, but later today will be interview day, and that will wrap up the 15th annual Career Fair events.
Best of luck to all of you, and thanks to all the employers for showing up here in Bozeman. We appreciate that.
Awesome.
Back to a story we brought you earlier. Missoula City Commissioner, or County Commissioner, I should say, Dave Strohmeyer admits the idea of bringing back passenger rail service to Montana's southern route, a big idea, and it will take years to accomplish.
But he tells MTN's Dennis Bragg he hopes other counties will dive into the discussion to see what's possible.
Dave Strohmeyer has always been an advocate for bringing rail service back to Montana's southern route for the first time since Amtrak sliced the service in big budget cuts in the late 70s. Of late, he's been working to build support for the idea of exploring formation of a statewide rail authority, using a coalition of counties to see if it's possible. But at last week's Montana Association of Counties meetings in Great Falls, Strohmeyer says reaction was a mixed bag. While some counties liked the idea, others were surprised or even skeptical. He's not going to let that dampen the dream.
What we're doing now is trying to set up a rail authority, and what this will do is really provide the framework and the foundation to do analyses, to go after funding, to figure out what are the economic benefits of this. Right now in the state of Montana, we don't have anything like a passenger rail authority to really tackle those questions. This is a first step of a multi-year process.
Strohmeyer wants to clarify this doesn't mean a public venture into the railroad business, nor do they want to interfere with any of the existing freight rail operators.
No, we have a main rail line that runs through Missoula County into points east and west. We're not talking about taking over Montana Rail Link or BNSF infrastructure in any way. What we're talking about is passenger rail and figuring out how to bring that passenger rail service back to Montana, not necessarily running a railroad.
In fact, Strohmeyer tells me he believes it's critical right now to at least get the railroad authority in place as allowed for under state law. He says if the federal government were to offer funding right now for passenger rail improvements along the southern route from Billings to Bozeman, Helena, and Missoula, Montana wouldn't be ready.
This is a big deal. This is not a small undertaking, and it's pushing the margin and going beyond some of our comfort levels. But I think with all big ideas and things worth pursuing, sometimes we have to just embrace the possibilities.
In Missoula, Dennis Bragg, MTN News.
Strohmeyer is hoping to further the discussion and win more supporters at a regional passenger rail conference that will be held in Missoula in April.
We're going to shift it up just a little bit. How will Campaign 2020 be remembered in history? It's a little too early to know, but the Smithsonian is collecting campaign trail artifacts to try to help tell that story.
Very cool story. As CBS's Natalie Brand reports, curators are logging lots of the miles to preserve history.
We try to hit all the headquarters. We try to get to campaign rallies.
Claire Jerry isn't your typical political junkie. She's a professional one on the hunt for history to document how Campaign 2020 will be remembered.
That's the question that curators are always asking themselves, trying to think about 50 or 100 years down the road.
Just like primary season, the quest begins in Iowa.
I'm with the Smithsonian, and every 4 years we go out in the field and get to primaries, conventions, pick up things that voters are actually doing.
From T-shirts to door hangers to talking points.
Oh, great.
Jerry has an eye for what stands out.
I'm going to get 3, but I definitely want one of the First Man ones.
And what to bring back.
Weeks after Iowa, we meet again.
We meet again.
Well, this is Jerry's first presidential campaign traveling for the Smithsonian. The National Museum of American History's collection dates back to George Washington.
This is an inaugural button.
Lisa Kathleen Grady, curator of political history, says it was President William Henry Harrison who popularized campaign swag back in 1840 with this log cabin cup.
This is really the genesis of a lot of the kind of campaign material we see now.
Over the years, the memorabilia spans soap, makeup compacts, cologne, and of course, buttons. This room has cabinets filled with them, and their predecessor, campaign ribbons.
Notice this is a picture of Lincoln without his beard.
A political history collection of about 130,000 items, only a fraction on display for the public to see. In this case, the eventual presidential nominees.
Bringing it back, we don't know yet what the end of this campaign story is going to be.
But back here, many of the other candidates and their slogans live on.
We think of the campaigns as being very disposable. Once a candidate drops, do people even remember them? Well, we do.
Carefully preserved for future generations to sift through U.S. politics, past and present. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
So if you can't visit the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History in person, you can find their collection of political novelty items online, including some of the items currently not on display.
Super cool.
That is so cool.
I like the foreign language versions of I Like Ike, which is one of the premier campaign slogans ever.
No, that's so cool. And if you think about when it was really revolutionary time back in the 60s and the 70s, all of that memorabilia, that would be so cool to see that.
My father has a whiskey decanter from the 50s that is an elephant in boxing gloves that the Jim Beam Company made for the election for that
awesome.
for presidential election.
So we don't have as much of that stuff, I feel like, nowadays
cool. I'd love
as we
to
did.
see some of that stuff.
That's awesome.
6:40. How about we take a quick break here on Montana This Morning? When we come back, it's the ride of a lifetime. Oh my gosh, orbiting above the Earth. Yeah, that's next. But first, here's what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, U.S. intelligence officials are warning lawmakers that Russia is again meddling in the U.S. election to boost President Trump's chances. We'll tell you why the president was outraged when told of the briefing. Plus, we'll hear from a man suing the state of New York for serving 25 years in prison for a murder he did not commit. We'll tell you why it took so long for him to be released. And air travel can be hard enough, but now there's concern you might not have the right identification to get on that plane. We'll tell you what you need to know about, quote, real ID. See you at 7.